Delicious? Perhaps. But 8,000 people have been sickened in 16 E. coli outbreaks in the last 3 years. Industry officials are quick to blame consumers for not cooking hamburgers to 165 degrees, the temperature needed to kill deadly bacteria. But what if preparing the burgers is itself hazardous? I devised an experiment to answer the following question. Can consumers prevent cross-contamination by simply following the directions on a package of ground beef? I'm Michael Moss of the New York Times, and with me is Christine Kay, an investigations editor. We started with 3 pounds of fresh meat that was infected with E. coli.
But not the E. coli that actually makes you really sick.
What we used was an E. coli that is harmless but acts the same way that the deadly E. coli will act.
So Michael, before we recap our little experiment, why don't you first read me those instructions on the package word for word.
Safe handling instructions: thaw in refrigerator or microwave, keep the raw meat and poultry separate from other foods, wash working surfaces, including cutting boards, utensils, and hands after touching raw meat or poultry. That's it. So the first thing I did was clean the surfaces in the kitchen to make sure there wasn't anything there to start with. Splashed it with rubbing alcohol, let it dry, and then swabbed it. And we sent those swabs back to the lab as well for testing.
This is before we even made the burgers.
Then you came and we made the patties. Washed our hands, the counter, everything.
How's that look?
That looks great. And then we chopped up the lettuce, the tomatoes, took the patties out to the grill, made the hamburgers, brought them back in, and tested everything at that point. Put samples of the hamburger in bags, sterile bags.
The handle of the spatula.
We swabbed the cutting board, the counters, everything that we could think of. Shipped it back to the lab for them to test and see what, if anything, got transferred.
So we tested the counter, the cutting board, the spatula handle, all of that because the E. coli from the hamburger could have spread to those surfaces or other food products.
Exactly. These bugs don't die if you get them in your kitchen. In fact, they're going to grow. In normal kitchen, they're going to double in number every 45 minutes. The laboratory we used is in Seattle. They helped us set up the experiment and then tested everything when we sent it back to them.
So they sent us the hamburger.
Yes, that was already infected.
Should we see how we did?
Let's do it.
All right. Why don't you do the honors?
I will. So the cooked burger, they were fine, no problem there. The bun was fine. The tomatoes that we chopped up on the cutting board, the countertop after we tested was fine.
Wow, we're doing really well here.
Yeah, but where we started to get in trouble was the cloth towel we used to wash our dryer hands, rather. It came back not with E. coli, but a whole bunch of other bacteria that came from the meat.
Maybe instead of the towel, we should have used paper towels that we then threw away.
Absolutely. And here's where we really went off the deep end. The cutting board, after you washed it, had E. coli on it.
I'm really surprised that we got back positives. I mean, we were incredibly careful. We were cleaning everything under bright lights.
That's a really good point. I mean, that didn't look like my kitchen as it normally is.
Right.
My two boys weren't throwing baseballs. I wasn't drinking, but we did forget a couple things. We forgot to send the sponge in for testing, and our sink probably was full of E. coli, and we didn't test that either.
So Michael, I feel compelled again to stress the fact that we followed those directions.
Clearly what we found here is you've got to go way beyond what these instructions tell you to do.
Right.